Welcome to the Lights Camera Pro podcast, where we interview entertainment pros about their careers and how they became successful in the industry. The secrets to their success here every week. Here's your host, Shawn Ventura.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Lights Camera Pro podcast. I'm your host, Shawn Ventura. Today we have a great guest. It's actor Chelle Ramos. She has worked with Al Pacino, Ray Liotta on several TV shows. It's going to be fun. Here we go. Hey everybody, we're here with Chelle Ramos. She's an actor and she has been in lots of TV shows and films. She's worked with Al Pacino and Ray Liotta, and we're going to hear some stories. So this is awesome, Chelle. Thanks for doing this.
Oh man, thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is very cool. I looked at your IMDb page like I do for most people I interview, and I was like, oh my God, this woman has got so much stuff. She must be working all the time for like 20 years.
Oh man, I've had a very, I've been very fortunate to have a great career this far. Yeah, so thank you.
Yeah, congratulations. So we'll just get started with the first question. How did you know that you wanted to be in the film and TV industry? Were you a little kid? Were you in high school and college? When did you first know you wanted to do this for a career?
So I don't know how to answer this. Is it subconsciously or consciously? Because like
either way, however you want to answer it is fine.
So I think it's funny because I think my mom is the one that kind of pointed something out. I was a dancer first, ever since I was like 3 years old. And my first encounter of ever being on the stage, like the curtains were closing and I like fought my way through. I was 3 years old and I fought my way through and I was like, and I wanted to wave to my mom. Like that was the moment I think that I was like, oh, I have to entertain people in some way, shape or form. She told me that story and I was like, oh, okay, that's probably where it started subconsciously.
Right.
So I was a dancer. I just loved expressing and entertaining. I was a dancer until I was like 15 years old. And then at 18, I got my first gig as a choreographer for this movie called Chatterbox. It was filmed in Pensacola, Florida.
Okay.
And it was my first time ever seeing like an actual like production like going on. And I was just so infatuated with, how like the cameras were working, how the director were giving the actors notes. And, I continued like, my career as a dancer. But when I was that next year, I was 19 years old and I was on a trip at Universal Studios. And they had these auditions for this Egyptian mummy princess. And mind you, again, this is a vacation that I'm on and I saw this audition. I was like, okay, I'm going to go. So I go audition and it was so weird because again, like never acted really. I just knew like, about like body form and, able to portray that. I was just using my instrument to step into this world that I've never really stepped into before. And so the vacation ended and I get back to Pensacola. That's where I was living. And I was a full-time dispatcher at Cox Cable. And they called me up. He said, hey, this is so-and-so at Universal Studios. And I just want to let you know that we would like to offer you a contract as the Egyptian mummy princess. And I'm like, I answered this call while I'm at the desk at my job at Cox Cable.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't even know what to do. Like, because whenever you get a job, like at a theme park, like you're just kind of just like a sub, like you're just like an add-on and you may work like 2 times a year. They were offering me a contract. It was 3-day-a-week contract. I was like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to follow my intuition. And I put my 2 weeks in like later on that week and I moved to Orlando and I was acting. And that was like my first experience. I was like, holy cow, like I enjoy this. I want to keep on doing this. So I think that was my first
Right. So you felt like this is it. This is what I want to do. And just let me understand, because I don't really understand, like you were a character in a show at the theme park?
So so they have,
okay.
So I guess it doesn't really follow up with your question because you said TV and film, but
it's fine. Like, it's where you started. Acting, so it's totally fine. Yeah.
But yeah, it was a character. It was for, have you ever been to Universal Studios?
Mm-mm.
They had this like ride. It's called the Mummy Princess. The Mummy Returns.
Okay.
And I am the Mummy Princess that comes from like the dead. And I just, it was a 9 to 5 job just in the entertainment industry. It was such a fun job.
And so all day you're dressed up as the mummy princess and people are coming on the ride?
Yeah. And it was, it's just like kind of decoration for, like, getting people to, So it was such a fun character. Yeah, but it was like 9 to 4 every for 3 days a week. And I had these 2 mummy guards and they were on stilts and like I was the queen and it was so fun.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think that was like the big thing for me. Because when I decided to not be a dancer anymore and go into acting, because dancing is amazing. It's beautiful. But most dancers it's usually an ensemble, or it's like, you're making the main singer or the main actor look good. There's not a lot of like individuality.
Right.
And so when I was a mummy princess, I was like, oh my God, all eyes are on me. This is amazing.
Right, I'm the star.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. So I think that was the step forward into, kind of putting dancing aside and moving more towards acting.
Okay. And then where do you go from there? You have to get headshots and an agent and all this stuff, or do you do something else?
Oh, yeah, no. So, I mean, of course, I think that, like with, theater and anything like musical theater or any kind of that is very different from TV and film.
Right.
So, lots of like larger like movements, of course. And so then I was like, okay, I really would like to like hone more in on this. And I started taking classes at a place called Art Sake Studio in Orlando. Amazing studio. It's actually still there. And the owner, she actually passed away a couple of years ago. Her name is Yvonne Suhor. She was an incredible teacher. And I took classes there for scene study and TV and film, and just really understanding like the 2 different worlds, because they really are 2 different worlds.
Right.
So yeah, and it was, oh my God, I was awful. Oh my God, I was just god awful, because when you're on stage, like you're just like everything's happening and smiling and big hair and big movements, and TV and film is like so opposite of that. Yeah. So it took me a minute to be like, oh, I am enough. I don't have to like have these like huge movements and huge hair for every scene that I do. So that took a minute. Yeah.
But you finally figured it out.
I still feel like I'm figuring it out. No. Yeah, you figure it out as like, there's so many auditions that you do. And then the ones that you book, you really go back and you're like, okay, what did I actually do there in order for me to book this job? What were the lessons and training? What technique did I use? And I think that just comes as you start building your journey and your path, where you want to go. And some people like, they go into TV and film, they're like, no, this is not for me. And they go back to theater because it's theater's a very beautiful world in itself. But for me, it was TV and film because I'm like, oh, I like this. It's more intimate. Yeah.
I mean, I love it so much more. I mean, the idea of doing plays, and I did some plays professionally where night after night you have to go out there and do the same thing over and over and rehearse it for months. And then film, it's like, oh, I screwed up. It's like, all right, well, let's just do another take.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. And I just like that better.
Yeah. And I feel like too, like you're whoever you're, hopefully like, you get a good co-star with you, but you're able to have this like plan almost like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we try this? You know what I mean? Yeah. With theater, it's much more, it's geared towards the audience. So you don't get, as much playroom, but yeah, for me too, with the TV and film, I agree.
Okay. So you've done the Universal thing, you've taken the classes, and then do you move to LA? Do you go to New York? What do you do from there to get into some smaller films or TV shows?
Yeah. So I actually, so the same process happened. I was on a trip in Atlanta and they had this audition for this commercial called Georgia Lottery. Right. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go audition. And I go back to Orlando and they end up calling me saying like, hey, like, you booked this, it's going to be like a 4-day shoot. And that was a dancer. I had like, I was using my ability to dance as well as acting to kind of, push myself forward in getting gigs. And so I was like, okay, I think I'm done here in Orlando. And like within like a month, I left Orlando and I moved to Atlanta. And I have a place in Atlanta, and I've been doing the back and forth to New York for like the last like 4 or 5 years.
Really?
Yeah. Because I don't know. Like, I think there's just so much culture and so much world out there. I think if you're just in one spot for so long, like you lose like your uniqueness. You use like learning, like, different, how the world works. And I love being a gypsy. Like, I love like bouncing place to place.
Right.
But yeah, during like pilot season, like New York is my jam. Like, that's where my managers like, want me. And yeah, but I spend a lot of time in Atlanta. I do like LA. LA's cool. I like visiting. So yeah.
But don't they have pilot season in LA also?
They do. Yeah, they do. I just like the hustle and bustle of New York. And everything's like, I have a really amazing team, and I get, I can tape, literally anywhere. I mean, it's incredible, like the way the technology is working for our future. But yeah, right. I do. I mean, I love going out there to LA, and, I always make it a work trip anytime I go. But I think, I don't know, New York is just, it's just so like, there's so much magic there. So I love New York. I
love New York. Yeah. I lived there for 12 years and moved down to Atlanta to, cause it's cheaper, and I had a family, and got a job at Turner. But I think New York things move faster. Yeah. And there's a million crazy stories about kind of stuff that would never happen anywhere else.
Right.
So yeah, I love New York. It's moving very quickly, and Atlanta's much slower.
It is.
But that's kind of nice sometimes.
It is. And that's why I like the change up. Like, I love having a spot in New York, and I love having a spot in Atlanta. I think that is, again, especially like, just the way that our industry like is going. I feel like it's moving like so fast when it comes to the taping world. And it's a good and a bad thing. You don't get to meet the casting directors like you want, but then, taping is great because you can just literally be anywhere.
No, that's great. So. You can tape. So are most of the TV shows that you do out of New York? And then if you're doing a film, it's out of Atlanta, because the film industry has blown up here?
Yeah. I feel like it's like half and half, because like I shot Valor here in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. That was on the CW, and that, I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's like half and half. I've been very fortunate to have like, work in New York and work in New Orleans, work in Atlanta. Yeah, I feel like it's a good mixture.
Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. So we're kind of interested, or the people listening are interested in your journey. So, I guess it's kind of like, how did you're kind of established now, and you're in a bunch of TV shows and movies. I mean, how did you get into that first TV show or that first movie? Was it just an agent sending you on an audition, or was it something else? Yeah,
I mean, you have to get your training first, like, because there's a lot of people that ask me all the time, like, what do I do? What auditions do I go to? You have to get into training, because I know that that's where I started. Like, of course I got the job at, Universal Studios, but I had like a dance background. But then after that, like I like honed in on classes first. And then after like, a couple years of classes, then I got my agent. And my first job, oh my God, it was for a show called Drop Dead Diva. This was like my first or my second job, one of those.
Okay.
And I booked this one off tape. It was my very first job. And I was so excited. It was for a hospital, and I was like this emergency nurse. And I pronounced the main star, I pronounced her boyfriend dead. So it was like it was a really intense like scene. And I got to set, everything was great. And I got so intimidated. Like, it was super nerve-wracking and scary for me. First of all, I don't really like hospitals, and I'm in this like emergency scene, and everything is real to me. And I will never forget, even to this day, I kept tripping up on the words. Like, I don't know what it was about the words that just like were freaking me out.
Yeah.
And the words were, the bullet fragment embolized and blocked the pulmonary artery. I was like an under 5. It was a very small job. But those are like, to me in my mind, like that's like a lot of like wording.
Yeah.
And so I was
like
just
a
really
tongue twister.
Yeah, it really was. But I'll tell you what, it's now a joke between like my family because like we will never forget those words now. But yeah, it was my first job. And I was, like I said, I was super intimidated and I wasn't getting the words out. I was like, Chelle, you've got to get it together. And the director, she pulled me aside. She said, hey, you got a job to do. Let's do it. And I was like, I got my big girl pants on. Like, it was like those magic words. I think that when you're just like, you have to take the responsibility.
Right.
And so like, yeah, that was my first encounter. And it wasn't that I wasn't prepared because like it was my first job. And like, it was just like, I think it's just like a newbie thing. And I got super intimidated. And from there on out, I have just been very like hardcore about like, yes, there's a time and place for preparation, but also don't forget who you are and what you have to bring to the table. Because you have to have that light and that freeness also when you're on set too. You know?
And you know about this probably more than a lot of people that when you're on set, you know, it's like, okay, we're going to go now. All right, wait, sorry, the lights. All right, we're going to go now. Wait, sorry, there's some helicopter. All right, we're going to go now.
100%.
And then like, okay, go. And you need to cry, you know? And it's like, wait a minute.
Shoot.
I need a second to get into character here. We've been postponing this for 3 hours. What's going on?
Right.
But that's what the people don't understand is that the really professional actors are just like, boom, on cue and they just nail it.
Yeah.
But it takes a while to get there.
It does. And I think that you have to really be patient with yourself. Like we're in this day and age where everything is like, you have to be everything right as it needs to be. And, you know, those lessons, they take time and you have to be really patient with yourself. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. So where do you go from there, from that little show?
So that little show.
Drop Dead Diva, which was on E, right?
That was on Lifetime.
Oh, was it?
It lasted for like, I think like 4 seasons.
Okay.
It was a really legit show. Yeah, it was a really good show. So I go there. I had my first guest star, a show called Graceland that lasted for like 3 seasons too. And I filmed that in Miami and I was a meth addict in that. Yeah,
I saw some pictures on your IMDb.
Yeah. Oh, that was such fun? It was such a fun character. Because so my favorite characters to play are the ones that are those human beings and those characters that really don't know how to talk or don't know how to voice. They express their feelings through drugs, alcohol, some type of addiction. And I don't know, that's always just like interested me because, you know, we're living in this world where you can't have that vulnerability. So I like to be able to have that challenge to be that vessel for them. And so ever since I was a young kid, that's always interested me. Like, some type of drug addiction. So I've always like been very interested in that realm, even before acting. And so when I got the audition, it was a guest star role. And I feel like all that preparation since I was like 13 of just like looking up these videos was just such a perfect opportunity to really manifest this character because I got it and it was so fun. Everything just like flowed so naturally. That was a couple of the series regulars that came up and they said, wow, that was an amazing, it was amazing like to work with you. And I'm not bragging on myself with that. It was just, I think just having those things that you've practiced with for so long, i.e. looking up those videos, that it's just been, it just helps you along in the jobs that you book, you know?
Right. And did you have to do some research and
that's what
watch
I mean.
Videos of meth addicts? And you didn't hang out with any meth addicts?
No, I didn't. But
like a documentary maybe or something?
Oh, documentaries. Oh my God. You can ask me anything about any meth addict from 2007 and now. Lots of documentaries, lots of interventions. I've been fortunate that I've never really battled with any type of addiction. So for me, I'm had that empathic like side. So when I watch those videos, like I like take on all of that. So that's like one of my methods.
Okay.
To break down a character is if it's something that I haven't experienced, I go and find like who it's been. And that, I mean, I've been on like cop, like ride alongs, like I've never been a detective either. So Yeah. So you really have to.
And did you I didn't see the show. I saw promos for Graceland when it was out. I didn't see the show, but did you have to like mess up your teeth or work with a special effects artist so that you had bad teeth?
They did it all.
And like you're really dirty all the time. And
oh yeah, it was. They took like I don't know what it's called, but they like dirtied me up because they wanted me to look dull, like my skin tone. They wanted me to look really dull. Yeah, they put stuff on my teeth. They had me fake smoking out of a light bulb because that's what a lot of addicts do. They really try and find anything that will be able to hone whatever they're smoking. So it was a light bulb that I was using.
Wow.
Yeah. And you really start to, I know that a lot of people like make fun of like drug addicts and all of that, but like when you're able to play a character that is that like in depth, like you have so much appreciation. I have so much appreciation for people that are battling with mental health, addiction, any of that, because you really start to understand. There's so much compassion that you really are gifted with in playing these characters. And I was so amazingly, I was so thankful for that role. Yeah.
Right. And so this is kind of a strange question, but I've wondered it about myself. Like, do you feel like at what point, and I may be jumping ahead here, do you consider yourself to be a professional actor because you're getting paid and you're not doing anything else? Because I've talked to actors and comedians who are like, well, I was a bartender, I was a waiter. And then all of a sudden I did a few shows, I'm on the road, I'm touring. And then for the last 4 years, I haven't done anything but comedy or haven't done anything but theater.
Right. So wait, what was the question again then? So
the question is like, was there a point in your career, and we may be too soon right now, but later on that like obviously you're professional if you're getting paid, right? But was there some point where you're doing commercials and films and TV and you're not doing anything else but working as an actor?
Yeah. You know what? I know everybody has like their I guess story because I bartended and I did waitressing and cocktail waitressing and all of that. But I never looked at it like my first job. I was 13 years old and I was a bus girl, so I've always been really good with money. My parents showed me how to save money.
Right.
But I've never really depended on like a bar job or a waitressing job to pay my bills. Like, of course, it's supplement income, but I always had those jobs because I was interacting with people. So to me, that was still training.
Right.
That was still like, I was still like being able to like interact with another human being. So I used every outlet, my acting classes, pumping gas. Like, how would I interact if I was a country singer? You use, and that's what I really mean about like if you're in one area and you just get so used to just being in that one area, then it's going to feel like a job. But if you're like, I've had literally every job, every bar that I've left within like 3 months because I'm like, okay, I know all these people now. Time to go. It was never about like making the money. It was more so about
the
like
experience and finding characters and finding ideas. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So when do you I don't even have your IMDb up, but is The Gifted next or something else next? I guess Cloak and Valor, Cloak and Dagger.
Yeah, Cloak and
Saints
Dagger.
and Sinners. Like, where do you want to go next as far as talking about a show that you're working on, or is it a movie?
I think let's see. Like, Valor was a pretty really fun one. That only lasted one season, but that was a large one for me because I was stepping into the gay community. I've never been able to have that responsibility, and that was a big step for me. And being able to take on that responsibility because I was like, okay, I'm not actually gay, so is this going to be okay?
Right.
So that one was a really fun one. I played a really masculine chick in the military. And I think it was episode 8, there was a sexual assault where one of the guys, he assaulted me in the break room. And again, that was another like big responsibility that I was so happy to take on, because there's a lot of, that was whenever the Me Too movement was going on too.
Right.
And again, fortunately, I've never been in a situation where I dealt with sexual assault, but, that was a really cool and, vulnerable experience. Everyone on set, I will say with that said, like everyone there was so like, we're going to move everybody out, only the director, the co-star. And it was very limited crew. We did it. Everybody was super professional. My co-star, like he was like, make sure that I was like very comfortable in certain, like, cause we had to do like certain like choreography. And everything was just so great. Like I couldn't have asked for a better situation. That was a very great crew, because again, like when you have that type of content,
right.
Like it's a lot of heaviness. And, usually like when I go on set, if I certain characters, I'm, bubbly and I, like to get to know people. But when it's like this one, it was hard because I didn't want to talk with anybody. I needed to just be by myself, because it wasn't until like a couple episodes later where I actually say something, because that's what happens in the military, or anything in the force. Like you don't say anything, and that's men and women. You don't say anything if you are sexually assaulted, because that's just a sign of weakness and your emotions are being exploited, and you could go down in rank. I mean, it's a slew of things.
Right.
And
there's a million reasons why you don't say anything. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a lot. But I was so happy with it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, I'm very excited, Chelle, to talk about Al Pacino is one of my favorite actors. So I want to hear about what your experience is, your experience was with Pacino working on this film Hangman, because I know you were in an interrogation scene and a chase scene, and just talk about that.
Oh my gosh, it was so amazing. Well, first of all, like I knew that I was going to be, when I got the audition, I was like, Al Pacino. I was like, what? Hold up. Excuse me. I was like, yes. So I like went in on the audition. But yeah, so I worked with Carl Urban and Al Pacino mostly. Those were the two that, were interrogating me.
Right.
But yeah, my chase scene. Oh, that was so fun. It was so funny because the amazing director, Johnny Martin, he told me it was between myself and it was like this other girl that does like those ninja shows. I don't know what it's called.
American Ninja.
American Ninja.
Okay.
He said it was between myself and an American Ninja girl. And I was like, okay. And this just like poured out of my mouth. I don't know what confidence I was having, but I was like, okay, that's fine. She can do all the acrobatic, jumping over things, but she's not going to bring it like I do for your acting. And I saw myself, and I don't know why I said that. And he didn't even say anything. He said, okay, you got the job. I was like,
nice.
Yeah, it was so funny. You just have those moments. I don't advise everybody to do that every time, but like, I don't know what was going on in my mind. I was happy I said it though, because I got to work with these amazing people. Yeah. So with the running and the chasing scene, Carl was the one that was chasing after me.
Right.
And then at the very end of the chase, Al Pacino rolls up with his car, and then I roll over the top of the hood. Mm-hmm. But it was really incredible. I did a lot of observing with Al. I really, I mean, of course, he's like one of the most incredible legends, and I just thought this was a wonderful opportunity to just observe and watch.
Right.
Of course, my groupie self on the inside was like, "Oh my God, just say something to him." But I was like trying to be calm and cool. There was a part in the interrogation scene where I was, the tears were trying to flow. And I think we were on like take like 8 or 9, and something was going on with the camera. And, after crying that many times, it's like, okay, you're starting to get dried up a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big fan of the cry stick. You know what the cry stick is, right?
Yeah. You can talk about it because not everybody knows. Yeah,
the cry stick is when they put a little bit, I don't know what, it's like menthol or something, and you put it underneath your eyes and it makes your eyes water. Mm-hmm. I'm just not a big fan of it because to me, it takes me out of the scene because I'm like, my eyes are literally hurting from the stinging sensation.
Right.
So and to me, I just like the feeling to come from within. And Al, we were doing, he pushes over some papers, and it's supposed to be my girlfriend that is now deceased. and he like switched up the papers, and he was talking to me, and just like we were just like conversing, and he switched up the papers, and they rolled the camera, and it was like this new photo that I've never seen. I've never seen the photo. I don't know if he like had to print it out, or I have no idea.
Right.
And that ignited this incredible emotion, and that is the take that they used for the interrogation scene. And I thought that was a really cool way, because that's what human beings do. You know, you converse, and then little surprises come up.
Right.
And I think that with him just being in the industry for so long and having these tricks to help his co-star, like that was such a gift to me. Yeah. It was such a beautiful gift that he gave to me, and I was so appreciative of it. You know, actor to actor, when you're in those situations, you don't look at him as Al Pacino and Shell Ramos. You look at him as your characters, and this is a police officer with a street kid. You know,
right?
Yeah.
And can you talk about? I don't know if you guys talked at all, but what he was like on the set, or like, did he just someone bring him in the limo? He did a scene, he left, or was there any talking with him, or what else did you observe? Was he very nice to people, or just quiet?
Yeah. No. He's a beautiful man. He was, you know, he would talk to people that wanted to talk with him. He was so like not high maintenance at all. Like we were filming in this like really, I don't know if it was a condemned place, but he was barely sitting down. Like he was out like talking to people. And then afterwards, I believe he got everyone a bottle of the Dom Perrier. He bought everybody one of those after we were done with the set. I mean, he was such a sweet man, and gave me a lot of like really great insight, because that was, I mean, Hangman was like my first, like, I want to say like larger like role, a lot of responsibility. And he said, don't lose focus of what you have for your character. You know, you're able to be directed, but once you have the core and the foundation of who your character is, that's your truth. That's who you're telling it as the unique human being that you are. And, you know, we're in this industry where you're trying to people please, and you're trying to give the people what they want. But once you lose sight of that character and you start going off into different ways, and again, this is very, keep the foundation of who your character is, but also have that invitation for other people to, like, the director, to maneuver you, but just don't lose the core of who you created, because that is what books you the job, and that's what makes you memorable. Right. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. So I'll just give you a little break. I'm going to tell you a quick Al Pacino story that I didn't actually meet him like you did or work with him, but I was working at the IFC Awards, and I don't know how I got there. I was a young actor in New York City, and it's down on the waterfront. And I was so excited because people were like, Al Pacino's going to be there. He's going to give Sidney Lumet an award. The guy did Serpico and all these movies. And I loved both of them. And I was like, oh God, if I could just see Al, maybe De Niro will be there. I can be like, hey guys, just thank you for the movies, whatever, something stupid. Right. But I was the help in running camera. And I saw Stanley Tucci in the bathroom, and I saw all these celebrities that I can't remember even who it was, but we couldn't find, it was a bunch of us young actors, and we couldn't find Al anywhere. Like, where the hell is Al? He's on the program saying he's giving away this Lifetime Achievement Award, and we couldn't find him. So the show starts and the light goes on, people are getting awards. And at the very end, about an hour in, I can see through the curtains. There's like these see-through curtains that a helicopter is landing on the dock right there. And I see a couple of people walking with flashlights, and there were like these 20-foot high pieces of glass, and they had removed one of the panes, and he just came in through the curtain, walked up on the stage, didn't even come through the crowd, said his little bit. I mean, he just seemed really small. I don't know how tall he is, but he seemed really small. And
he is very small.
Giant head of hair and this like aura around him, this energy. And he was hilarious. And they just came in, gave the award. I was like, I could probably reach out and touch his arm because I was right in front of the podium. And he just went out the window and flew away.
Oh my God.
That was like,
and when was this?
This was a long time ago. Oh my God. It was 20 plus years ago. Yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
New York City, the IFC Awards. So crazy.
That's amazing.
Okay, so you run this TV show called Shades of Blue, and you had a scene or a few scenes with Ray Liotta?
Yeah, I had two scenes with Ray. Yeah.
Okay. And what was that like?
That was amazing. Ray is just, I just love it because he's this rugged, I mean, he's such a man. But he has this like very sweet side to him.
Okay.
That was like a lot of fun. We were both in our chairs getting our makeup done. And it was so funny because, you know, I played an assassin in this, like a sweet girl. And then they find out that I'm an assassin. And I'm getting my makeup done. And I don't really like, you know, especially early on in my career, like unless like they start talking to me,
right.
I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna, you know, kind of do my thing. And he was laying back in the chair and he had these like gel things under his eyes and he didn't even look at me. And he goes, "So, you the assassin?" He said, "Yes, that's me." Oh my goodness. And I was such a great like start to the rest of the show because I was there for like 2 weeks.
Right.
And yeah, he was amazing. I mean, it was, and him, Drea De Matteo,
right.
Do you know?
Yep.
She's a freaking incredible too.
Soprano.
Yeah, the Sopranos. Yeah, just amazing. And so my scene with them was that they were like using these like electric shockers to get me to talk. And my hands were handcuffed in the bathroom on the railing. And so he takes this like fake screwdriver and like is pushing it in my side. And then after every take, he was like, "You're okay, right? Like, is that too much for you?" It was just so cute how both of them, because it's this very like intense scene where they're like terrorizing me.
Wait a minute. So are these bad cops? I didn't see the show. Like they're electric shocking you in the shower?
Yeah. Well, they're like trying to like, I'm the bad, like, you know, person of this episode, but yeah, like they're like trying to get me to actually talk. Yeah. Okay. So they're like, you know, they have wrenches and they have this like taser that they're like hitting me with to get me to talk.
Oh my God.
So yeah, it was incredible.
That's like an NBC show.
Oh my God. Yeah, exactly. It was so much fun. It was incredible. And they were so sweet afterwards. I mean, and that's what I think the fun thing is, like playing like these bad people, is because they're nothing like, you know, who they are like in person. Because after every take, I mean, Drea, she was like, her and I were best buds afterwards. She was like, "You're cute, like little body." Because I was in this like bra and underwear, like, and I'm not the risque type. Like that was my first time ever being like something risque on TV. And she made me so comfortable. She's like, "Can we get her like a jacket?" Or she was so sweet.
Yeah, bathrobe or something. Yeah. And was J-Lo around while you were shooting?
She wasn't. No, she wasn't. Unfortunately, I didn't get to work with her, but that would have been amazing.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, I didn't get to work with her, but I mean, that was enough for me. Like I've been fortunate to work on every set with an amazing crew, and that one was just amazing. Yeah,
you've had lots of crazy experiences. Yeah. So you worked on this TV series called The Gifted on Fox, and there were mutants. What was that like?
Yeah. So we were the new crew we just got out of jail, and we were the new crew that was like the badasses coming onto the mutant world. And there were 3 of us, and all 3 of us, the cool thing about our crew was that we couldn't just be like a single, like our powers wouldn't work unless all 3 of us were together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So one of us, we energized it. He energized it. And then I teleported it. And the last guy, Tyshawn, he blew it up. So we like did like 2 different objects. It was mostly objects that we did. We didn't do any like people or anything.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was really fun.
Was it different because it was mutants and special effects? Did you do a lot of green screen stuff, or did you do a lot of like preparation for the effect and our stunt people? And
yeah, for that show I didn't really have too many stunts, but there was, a bunch of CGI and a bunch of like green screen we did have to use, because I want to say that's like my first character that I had. It was more of a fictional. Where I was actually like using like powers and stuff, which was so cool. Like that really was never my thing. But afterwards I was like, oh my God, I love this. There's so much more like playing that you can do.
Right.
Yeah. So a lot of like CGI and a lot of green screen.
Very cool. And then the Purge TV series, because I saw the original movie. I didn't see the TV series, but oh my God, it's so dark and so twisted. It's like
it was so much fun. Like, and I was good night. The audition process. I'm gonna go back to the audition process because it was pretty cool.
Yeah, sure. Tell any story you want. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a super busy week. I had like 4 auditions that I could do in like 3 days. And they were like, each one was like anywhere between like 7 and 15 pages. And the Purge, it was 15 pages long. And that one had to be due the next day. And I was like, you know what? I'm about to just like wreak havoc. And I broke like, so like, I like one of the scenes, like I had these like crates that I pulled in, and I needed it to be real for me because again, like when you're not in a situation that you have like been in before, like you have to use things that will work for you to make it truthful for yourself. So I used this crate that I brought in, and it was such just a fun process, but I had to like get it in 15 pages. And then the next couple days, like I found out that I booked it. But yeah, the Purge was great. Again, I play a lot of tomboys on TV.
Okay.
Which is great. But I was
a lot of badasses.
A lot of badasses. But I was part of another group where I was the only chick in this all male group. And we all just gelled so great from the beginning. I mean, Max is amazing. Jonathan, like we just had a really good melting of just becoming this like crew off. I mean, we were hanging out all the time in New Orleans. But it was great the Purge is great too, because our crew, there's like 4 different storylines. I know you didn't see it, but there's 4 different storylines going on.
Right.
And we were robbing a bank. That was like our focus was like robbing a bank and getting enough money to stop doing this kind of work, because all of us had, for the characters, we all had really good hearts. We just wanted to stop doing this work.
Right. It was very much like a SWAT team or something. I saw it on IMDb, the trailer.
Yeah.
And you guys had the flashlights on the glasses, and you had your vests on and your guns, and you're going in the bank and shooting everybody.
What I think that was the really cool thing was for, the writing and the characters, because we were all ex-cops. There were just some flashbacks where, they showed us like working actually as FBI.
Right.
So I think that was a good characters for this, is because we had the tactical and the technique and the training to actually break into a bank and to actually kill people properly. And it was a cool dynamic for the characters for sure.
And can you tell people, is it different to work on something like that? Because you have the squibs or the blood exploding, and there's a lot of like setup and choreography, right? When you do the scenes with the guns and the shooting.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially for like a lot of the fighting. There's a couple of parts where I was actually hurting people or defending myself with a gun. And I was working a lot with the training guys for that. I mean, anytime that I wasn't filming, I was like, I want to like be learning this, not just for this show, but like for the future, just for, but they're very good about, especially the stunt guys. I mean, props to all stunt people, because sometimes when the actor doesn't know exactly what to do, they're very, very helpful. And like, okay, I'm going to move here. You move here. Everybody, it was very helpful on that set. But yeah, trying to learn how to knock somebody out with a AK-27, like that is, it took some practicing, but yeah.
All that tactical stuff is hard to learn for sure.
Yeah. I didn't have to do any squibs though on that show.
You didn't?
No. I shot a lot of people. So blood was being splattered in my face. Right. Exactly.
Okay. And now you're on this really popular show that sort of exploded. Yeah. It's in the Netflix top 10 called Outer Banks. And you play a deputy. What was that like? Or is it still happening, or are you done with that show?
I'm not sure. I spoke to Jonas. He is the amazing director and the creator of the show. And he said he didn't, because it was very hard. a couple of my scenes actually had to be cut from Outer Banks because I booked Outer Banks and The Purge at the very same time. And The Purge had me for 9 episodes. And so I was like going back and forth between New Orleans and South Carolina.
Wow.
So it was kind of hard. And unfortunately, a couple of my scenes had to be cut from Outer Banks. But Jonas came up to me. He goes, man, I didn't know like such a dynamicness that you and Cullen, which is the other deputy, that you guys like have together. So season 2, like get ready. So hopefully, fingers crossed.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, good luck. Yeah.
Yeah. Outer Banks was a really fun one. That was the first time that I played like a small town sheriff or anything small town.
Right.
First time I've ever used the country accent. Like I'm half Asian, and for the audition, I was like, okay, we're gonna do a country accent, and I'm gonna doll myself up to where I look a little bit more Caucasian.
Right.
And I ended up booking it, and it was only supposed to be, I think, like an episode or 2, and it turned into 4. Very, very fortunate for that. Like, I think that when you are able to have that good energy on set, like, the writers and the producers, they think about like, other things that your character can do. And I'm not even like saying that for myself. Like, I just think like if you have a genuine, love just for people, like, people just want to be around other people. I know I do. Like, I love being around people.
Yeah.
So
awesome. So now we're in the middle of COVID, coronavirus, and are you still able to audition? Do you have something in the hopper, or is this just like downtime for you to relax? And
yeah, I think it's a combination. I had a couple auditions, in April, but right now it's like really slow. So I'm using a lot of this time to really hone in on things that I've been wanting to do for like a long time. I'm half Filipino, and my dad came from the States, so he knows no Tagalog. So I'm learning a new language right now.
Wow.
Tagalog,
cool.
Yeah. And then also, I really want to get more into action type of like movies. I've had a pretty athletic background, and so I'm learning how to do nunchucks.
Nice.
Yeah.
You never know when you're going to need some nunchucks in an action scene.
Hey, like, anything, if you're able to like, keep on, building yourself and, putting stuff into your craft box, like use it. And that's what, again, like the trajectory of where I want my career to go, I want to get into more like, Mulan and Bruce Lee. Like I love those type of like movies. So having those nunchucks, a chick doing nunchucks, I think that's kind of badass. So like, I'm like, okay, I'm going to try it, even though I'm like knocking myself out right now, trying to learn the nunchucks. But
while you're learning. Yeah.
Right. It's a hot mess.
Well, Chelle, this has been awesome. It's been so cool to hear your stories, and you're working all the time. You're doing all kinds of cool stuff. And I hope you do lots of action movies. But just to wrap it up, can you give some advice to young actors and maybe people who want to get into acting that were doing some other career about your journey and what to expect? I know I had a woman, Jean Alexander, who's been in some TV movies. She's done a lot of theater. And she said she hates auditioning, but she loves it once you get to do the work.
I think everybody has that little boy. There's parts of me that I'm like, God dang it, I don't want to. But then once you get in it, yeah, I agree. There's times where it's like that. Yep.
And what do you think about as far as advice for like a young person starting out? It's just going to be a long road. Keep your chin up. Keep going on auditions.
I think it's, you don't forget yourself. You have to have this love for yourself and love each moment. I think that we, just as human beings, we compare ourselves to so many people, and when you lose that, you lose it all. You really, you forget who you are. And I've had, times where I did forget who I was, and everything that you need is right there in that heart, in that space, that soul. Of course, going to classes, all of that is part of it, but just don't lose who you are, and the love. I think the love is the big part of it. Be really easy on yourself and be really easy on other people. If there's more love, I think, involved in where you want your career to go for yourself and also other people, I think the longevity of your career is just it's going to sustain throughout, and you're going to have a really good time doing it.
Right. And Gene says, be kind to yourself because it's hard. It's brutal. Going on all these auditions. And I just want to ask you one last thing.
Yeah.
So I kind of came up with this thing where talking to several directors, actors, writers, and there's this consensus of that creative people, which is what we are incredibly brave. Like to do stand-up, you have to be crazy. To be an actor and go into an audition, you have to be nuts. Like, and then you just have to be super brave to do that and super thick-skinned. But then we're also really sensitive. One comedian the other day said that, you could do 1,000 great shows, but the one bad one is the one that sticks with you.
Yeah. Yep. So true.
Yeah.
That is true.
But don't you think there's just you just have to be kind of brave and bold to have a career like yours? I mean. Yeah.
I think in the process of, when you have that character, you really have to silence out, especially the breakdown of a character. And this is an actor's point of view. Mm-hmm. You have to silence out all of those voices, even your own voice.
Yeah.
You have to silence all of that out and really allow that creativity to come through, because that's whenever you do your best work, is when you are free and you're open and there's so many different possibilities. And that's when that bravery really comes into play, is when you're able to just focus and it's simple and that character is right there with you.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah. Awesome advice. Well, Chelle, this has been great. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yes, of course. Thank you. This was so fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, good luck in the future. I hope to see you in some action movies.
Oh, yeah. If I'm not knocking myself out with these nunchucks.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Thanks,
awesome.
Chelle.
Thanks so much. You too. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Lights Camera Pro podcast, where entertainment pros talk about how they made their dream into a career.
Thanks for listening, and subscribe to our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages. Thanks to Bob Juergens for the Rockin' VO and Joseph McDade for the music. Next time, we have film and television editor Ellen Goldwasser, and she's going to talk about her 2 Academy Award nominations for editing. So check that out. See you next time.